Three, two, one. It is showtime. Welcome back, guys. We're doing Rate My Team. Look, it's not long left now, right? It's Wednesday. It's 6 p.m. in Sydney. Thursday, 8 p.m. is when games start for part two of round one. So you kind of want to have your calls locked in before then. A lot of us are looking at Isaiah Papali'i, where to move him. Now, it's worth noting that Jermaine Hopgood, Stefano Tokomanu, Harry Grant, all these types of players, Jack Williams, Moses, they all play tomorrow at 8 p.m. So just keep that in mind, guys. You got to make these calls pretty quick. That's what we're going to try and get through today. Now, let's see who's in. Let's get it. Good to see you, Blake. Got Legacy of Bull. Let's go. Hooray from Noz. TLT, Silent Killer. Sure. Good to see you, John. Yeah, so for anyone who's new, by the way, this video is much more of a team advice video. So we go through specific teams inside the Discord. You can see here, too, if you're one of the members, that WAP link below is the one you can get through. The key is, and the things I'm looking for here especially are questions about players you're uncertain about, players you're considering buying, and players you want me to discuss. So if you can pop those things in as well when you send your team, that's awesome. A few key notes here before we start as well. Sell. So this is for everyone, even if you're not a member, you can check this out. Sell Isaiah Papali'i. He's gone. He's on the bench. He's not a guy you want to keep. Sell Josh Paxton. He is on the extended bench there. Unless he gets a start, there's no interest there. Make a plan for getting Ryan Couchman next week. A lot of you guys have Ryan Couchman already. If you do not have Ryan Couchman, you have an interesting opportunity. It's essentially a position where you can have a free swing, and if you get it wrong, you can sell that player for Ryan Couchman. So I don't mind the idea of taking a shot at, Blake Steep, who's kind of risky, or, Howe from the Titans, Martin from the Raiders, edge back row spot, Lasardi. You can take a shot at any of these guys who have a bit of fantasy pedigree, but not great job security. If it doesn't work out, you move them on for Ryan Couchman next week. I think the same thing applies to Atkinson, who I'm going to be targeting pretty aggressively as well. He's one where you can take a shot, again, at a guy like Blake Steep or someone in that price bracket because you can make that easy trade next week. Other thing, I'm getting this question a lot. If you have Ryan Couchman in your loophole spot, do not make a trade to get a red dot or another Tigers player, except for Macassini, who really isn't guaranteed to start, but Macassini and Adam Dewey. They're the two you want from the Tigers. I don't think you want to do much else unless you go on major pod in, Terrell May, but other than that, probably not going to be doing it. So what we do on here is we start at 6 p.m. So we rip through all the teams at 6 and we sort of work through. Usually 45 minutes to an hour is this session here. Thank you too, Gabe. Appreciate the tip there, man. Appreciate that. Fire through any questions you got, Gabe. If you're going to be, May mentioned that. If you're going to be slinging tips like that, then I'll answer all your questions. Here we go. Would you sell Blake Brayley to get Hopgood and sell Paxton for Sanders and get Couchman next week instead of Lasardi? Couchman's a better option than Lasardi. Brayley to Hopgood, Paxton to Sanders. It's not the worst move. I think there's a very real chance that Hopgood and Brayley average about the same number of points this year, so that could potentially age quite well. I'm going to say yes to this. Sanders is a good option. Jay-Z is really high on Sanders. He was talking about like that high 40s, low 50s average potentially. I'm sort of more thinking around that 40 to 42 kind of average. I'm a bit more conservative on Sanders, but yeah, he's definitely value. He's a good option to target. Can you loop Leo with Talon? Yeah, you could loop Leo from the Storm with Talon May. I think Leo from the Storm is not going to be a great scorer just based on what history suggests, but he's going to have his big attacking stat days, so you could make a case for that. Now let's run into these teams. So we've got Dan McD first, and yeah, cool. I'm out of the way. That's good. I'm going to have a cheeky coffee here as well. We'll get into this. I got a bit of a long night coming through. Yeah, we have a bunch of teams to work through, and I want to reveal my team tomorrow as well. That's Thursday. That video goes out. So first team here. And really, those key themes are what I'm going to be talking about here. So look, forward pack looks all fine. Halves are fine. Backline looks good. This is a Ewan Aitken team. So worth noting there, Ewan Aitken is very high reward option. If he gets the 80 minutes, he's very secure. He'll average about 55 points. I think I've seen a few projections sort of saying he's like 52, 53. I think 55 to 58. I think the fact that South Sydney looks so good this year, if he gets the 80-minute role, there's going to be attacking stats on offer. He has massive, massive upside. The risk is that he plays the final game of the round and there's no guarantee he keeps that starting spot, or, they might mix things up and he might not get 80 minutes. Like, there's just a few things there that worry me, so I'm personally not hopping on. But if you do get on Aitken, I like it as a high-risk, high-reward option. So it's a good shout. And you're the kind of coach who had Ponga last week too, so, you've already had one win there. spending a bit of money on the back line with Walsh and Suafea-Longo. And if we jump across to the bench here, Blake Steep, Colquhoun, these guys are solid. Sanders, Dewey, Setutu in that loop. Chester loops into the center spot with Makasini, yep. And then you got Fair Money and Cooper Bye. You don't have Ryan Couchman right now, so that's one just to keep in mind. You're going to need to trade someone for Ryan Couchman next week. I mean, look, a guy like Chester doesn't have the best job security, so he's one. There's guys like Fairmani. I mean, Cooper Bye, I do like Cooper Bye quite a bit. Fairmani's a pretty average scorer in reserve grade, but could potentially be decent. I've got him a decent bit below Setu too, though, especially with Jaden Campbell out. So you could, if you wanted to, consider potentially, running a loop, or not running a loop, sorry, swapping Fairmani out for, someone like Lasardi or Martin or one of these types of players if you wanted to. You don't necessarily have to, but yeah, because you've got 16K in the bank, probably a bit short of the trade, I'd be thinking. But yeah, Blake Steep's another one who's a bit of a gamble there. You can take a few gambles there. So yeah, I like the team overall, though. I think it's pretty strong. There's nothing really shouting out at me that I would change. Your loopholes are set up correctly as well. Yeah, 42 from set 2 is fine. So, mate, you're in a good spot there. You're green as well. So, Dan, I'll see you later if you do want to jump on the call. If you are a member of the level 3 or level 2 guys, you can jump into that fantasy lounge just down there. It's 8 p.m. We jump on that call. Now, before I hit Noz's team, I'll just hit some questions here. So, Jarom Hughes, 66 average without Papi last 2 years. Yeah, 64 last year. It's really about fitness and form for Jarom Hughes, and they are missing a lot of weapons. So, I'm personally steering away. Also, he's been dealing with that shoulder issue in preseason too. So, that's one thing to keep in mind. Let's go, Frosty. Then, would you sell Braley? We talked about that. Would you go Hopgood, Tino Otokamanu with Cooper Bye or another 250K? I'm leaning towards Cooper Bye and Tino. That's a pretty good option there. The other option there is probably Colquhoun and Hopgood. That's sort of where I'm leaning there. But really, it's very hard to know, right? It's very hard to know what the Cooper Bye sort of role is going to be. We saw Ryan Couchman, last week absolutely kill it. So Cooper Bye could potentially do that. Can loop a Leo with the tail end. Yep, we talked about that. Should I get rid of Herbie Toya to Toya and then upgrade from IPAP? Not a bad move. I think you could also just trade IPAP for someone at a similar price point. There's a few different options there. AFAX, cheers, brother. Appreciate that. You see my team, tab shots. Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, we'll get to that one. I'm in shambles, Longy. What to do? With no IPAP, I looped Lukey, so I actually need an edge. Yeah, okay. This is where the option of taking one of those, risky guys is a decent play. So one of those starters, Aramu Howe from the Titans edge back row spot, Lasardi from the Storm, Martin from the Raiders. You could go with Blake Steep, like these types of guys, and then you look at Ryan Couchman next week. So I personally reckon take a shot at one of those guys. Grab a big scorer for this week. All those guys I mentioned are decent options. Just have a sort of think about that. They're all mentioned, by the way, in the so if you look at the Cheapies video that Jay-Z did, and also the video I posted today with Biz, the really long one, just jump into the edge back row spot, and it's sorted by price, so you'll be able to see all those guys too. How many minutes are we predicting for Big Steph and Hopgood? Yeah, Hopgood, I'm thinking about 60 minutes. Stefano, I'm thinking more like 50 to 55. Stefano's probably got a slightly stronger PPM, though. But I think Hopgood has that flex upwards. If there are injuries or things that go wrong, Hopgood can go up to 70 or 80 minutes. So for me, I'm leaning towards Hopgood out of these two, just because he's done it before, whereas Stefano really hasn't. Is getting Tamale over Suafea-Longo a good shout? It's a pod move. Look, Tamale is a guy, he's a very physical player, very strong, can break tackles in a pretty good Canberra side that should be, solid in attack this year. So I don't mind that as an option. Suafea-Longo, though, is a banger of an option as well. I'm personally leaning Suafea-Longo, but if you like the Tamale shout, take a shot at that. Not sure why everyone looped Lukey. I started him with FIFA. Yeah, look, he's a nice loophole, though. So the Vegas round, the benefit of that is that you get to see these loophole plays before you actually have to make calls on players. So I like him as a loophole option a bunch there. Who do you think scores higher this round, Lasardi or Noah Martin? I think Noah Martin scores more this round. I like the matchup better, and I like the fantasy pedigree. He's a 50 average and reserve grade. Tamale looks like a buy this week, but with just quickly too, Lasardi has a better chance at long-term job security, though. So it's kind of like, do you take a shot at the high fantasy upside of a guy who, Martin, who has a lot of competition for that spot? Or do you go Lasardi, who is probably still going to lose his spot, but will have a decent role in the rotations, could potentially move to lock or prop or other spots there too. So, yeah, Lasardi's probably the safer call. Noah Martin is the higher upside, riskier call, I would say. Tamale looks like a buy this week, but with Sua in so many teams, you might as well wait and stay with the pack. Yeah, I don't mind that shot. Is Wade Egan good for punt? No way. Also, you can't choose your captain yet. Gabriel, appreciate that, man. You'll see my team tab shots. Let me know what you think. Izzy Papali'i was there. Really was. Sweet, man. I'll get to your team. Thank you for the tip. Frost King, same, had them starting. Yep, cool. Yeah, he is the man. He is the man. All right, let's start ripping through some of these teams. So, Noz. Nice, Noz. Giving himself the reactions. So, new recruits, Hines, Steep, you and Aitken. Thoughts? I can go Stefano over Aitken. Watch my trade targets be for next week. I think the 78 on Brad Best. Yeah, this is a good looking side, man. Good looking side. You got Hines. You got no Cleary, which isn't it's a risky move, but it could pay off. Couchman, the loophole spot is fantastic for you there. So you just straight up started Tommy Chester. Easy. Running a loophole with Setsu too. He comes in as well. That's good because Ewan Aitken does mess with the center loophole. So it's good that you're running the wing fullback loophole. I would say for you, you're going to want to try and target Atkinson next week. Depends how much cash you have in the bank, but you can probably get to Atkinson via a few different routes there. So I think you're going to be okay to do it. But Atkinson would be the one I'd be targeting for you next week. In terms of the toss-up there, I think Aitken is a good option. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I would say generally it's Atkinson who's going to be the target that you're looking for here. To get Lukey's score, a few questions here. To get Lukey's score, I need to keep Patston. We can trade him to Ryan Couchman next week. You can do that. I personally wouldn't. I would take a shot at someone. If you want to take a shot, I would rather go for someone who has potential scoring this week and could potentially be someone that you keep around. All right, rolling through. Ryan, hey, Longy, here's me for this week. Thanks always for your advice. Uncertain about Steep, Leo, Martin, Howe, Sanders. Players you're considering, Patston, IPAP, out for Steep and Martin. Yeah, Martin, Ryan, Couchman. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking about a similar thing. Fair money. Laban is an interesting one as well. I don't know what the minute's going to be like for Laban because I would have thought Halasima would be a starter. I thought Gannon would be in the 17. He's on the extended bench too. So it's very hard to predict what the Warriors are going to do. You got Mitch Barnett coming back soon as well. Nia Corey is back in round 2 or 3. It's very messy in that Waz pack. So I'm personally steering clear of Laban just for now, but open to ideas here. So in terms of this roster, yeah, you're similar to me. You need to get Ryan Couchman next week. I'm in the same boat. I just want to keep my options open for cheapies, and Ryan Couchman came out was just a freak. So I think the Martin call is not a bad shout there. Bit of a pod play, take a shot. Moses Leo is one that I'm not that excited about. He feels like a bit of a bench clogger. The average in reserve grade was really low. It was like a 22 average in 5 games. He could potentially be better in first grade, but everything I've seen data-wise doesn't really indicate that. So for me, if I was you, I'd rather take a flyer on someone who potentially could have a bigger role than we expect. So instead of Moses Leo, I would swap him for a Cooper Buy or one of these types of players instead. Take a shot at them. You've already got your loopholes set up nicely, so you're in a good spot there. And just roll with that. But yeah, that's what I'd be thinking. Take a shot at someone with a bit of upside there, especially when you know you're getting Ryan Couchman or Atkinson or these types of players. You can take a shot at someone different. Your final boss, Longy, took an ugly risk of going Yo to Knowles. Other than that, I see Tamale is on Sanders' side. Are you keeping Best? Thinking of dropping Tino, going Hopgood, but I feel as if it's a big comeback year for Tino. Let's see how this looks. So, wow, yeah, Morgan Knowles is an interesting pod. Sam Walker is another big pod. You got, Tamale on the bench there, another big pod. Carrigan. Okay, so you're taking a swing at a few different options here. You got Ryan Couchman, the double tiger there to try and pull him up from emergency 6. Kind of love that. I would say for you, I'm not as keen on Morgan Knowles. Just my read on this. And look, Morgan Knowles, he's a bit of a, Sean Fensom, one of these sort of defensive specialist kind of players in terms of the way his data works. For me, the minutes aren't going to be good enough. So you've got Dan Safidi back very soon. You've got Francis Molo back very soon. You've got Max Plath back very soon. You've got Jerry Marshall-King back soon. And he moves Kurt Donahue into the lock spot. There's just a lot of congestion in that middle forward rotation. And from my perspective, Morgan Knowles is one that he's going to get a bit of a squeeze on the minutes. Probably needs a few more minutes than a lot of other guys to get those big scores. So I personally would skip Morgan Knowles. If I was skipping Morgan Knowles for you, I don't mind the Sam Walker pod, by the way. But if you could give Knowles the flick for, you've got guys that you can bring in. So you can just bring in Tino or Carrigan and you can, play really for any position there. If you do want to take a shot at Knowles, though, feel free to. Your outlet from Knowles next week would be Morgan Knowles to Atkinson, right? And then you'd have, you pocket about 100K and you can do something else with that. The other side of this is, again, I'm not super keen on Moses Leo. Again, if you guys want to take a shot at Leo, the Storm system is a good thing. Could be some attacking stats on offer. I'm just not really trusting it that much. I don't love the fixtures to start. I think he might struggle to be fantasy relevant, Moses Leo. So I'm going other ways, going for Cooper Bye, going for Ryan Couchman next week, going for, guys like Lasardi, guys like Martin, who have more potential upside in terms of scoring if they get the roles. I'd rather take that gamble rather than, trying to turn a guy around. So that's the swaps I'd make for you. I also don't necessarily think... You got Chester in the starting side there. I guess you kind of do need that extra wing fullback. Yeah, so no Setu too. Oh, Setu's starting as well. Yeah, you need that wing fullback for Karaz. So I don't mind the Tamale shout on your bench either. I think that actually works pretty well. Now, let's see who's around. Ross, longy afternoon. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. Angus Crichton or Papali'i. Definitely not Papali'i. So if you've just joined, sell Isaiah Papali'i. Then Aitken or Jack Williams at edge. I think Aitken with the center duel is the better option there. Jack Williams has much better job security, though. So if you're not worried about center, we go Williams. But I think Aitken's a slightly better scorer. It's a tough one. There's a bit of a toss-up there. Is it better to start Colquhoun or Sanders? I would err towards Sanders. And the reason I'm thinking Sanders is I just think he has more upside than a Colquhoun. Like, Colquhoun's going to be a pretty safe 30-plus score, most likely. Probably not going to crack 45. Whereas Sanders, he is probably a little bit more in terms of his range of outcomes, but he's taking over the team and could potentially go big. We could see him, performing like Atkinson, hopefully. That's ideally what we want to see. Noah Martin score prediction. I'll say a flat 50. That's what he averages in reserve grade. He's been a good scorer in first. So, yeah, I would say a flat 50 is a play for him. And then would you rather get Billy Burns just to trade him to Ryan Couchman next week? I do think Billy Burns will go well this week. I think that's extremely... you could do it. You could do it. The fact that we know roughly who we're targeting for next week does open up that kind of strategy. So if Billy Burns scored a couple of tries, that's a good payoff there. If there was an injury or something like that, that might pay as well. I don't hate it. I would probably rather, though, go for someone who has potential for a long-term play. So the reason I'm saying guys like Lasardi, Blake Steep, Martin, these types of players, is because there's potential that you learn something in round one that makes them actually someone you keep, right? So you just get this free lottery ticket. Whereas a guy like Billy Burns, Wilton's back in round 3. Wilton's not going to get dropped for Billy Burns. So unless there's an injury, that one doesn't play out as much. But I do like the matchup. So if you want to do it, take a shot. Tino getting 60 minutes at prop. I would say 60 is about the projection I would have for him. Yeah. Tino, White, Hopgood, Steph, or Flegg. I don't think you want to go Flegler just because of all the troops I talked about coming back soon. So it's Tino, Nafahu, White, Hopgood, Steph. I think White is a very safe option. I don't think he has the upside of the other three. Stefano, you're betting on that, sort of year-to-year increase. I think Stefano is going to be good this year. But the more I think about it, the more I like him. Hopgood, I think, is a nice, safe option. Tino is the more premium option. For me, I would say go Tino if you can afford Tino. It doesn't hurt you too much in other positions. If you need to save cash, choose between Hopgood and Stefano. It's entirely based on play style. Do you want that guy who has to be out there for bigger minutes, more of a tackler, more offloads, Jermaine Hopgood, or do you want to have, a bet on the attacking stats of a Stefano Otokomani running off Harry Grant? Do you think that evolves this year? Kind of comes down to the story you want to tell yourself. So For me, I'm kind of leaning towards Hopgood, but I could change at any moment, really. Is Papali'i to Walsh, then Dry Gray to Cobbo? Good trades. Yeah, I like these trades a lot. These are two good trades. Walsh and Cobbo are two guys who are in my team as well. Cobbo or Fairlongo, weather is meant to be pretty wet at Suncorp this weekend. Yeah, that could potentially be a downer. I still think Cobbo is going to have some games, so I'm leaning gently towards Cobbo, but it's still open. All right, Filial, have I checked? No, I haven't checked out your team, so let's rip into this. Have I gone too heavy on Herbie, or should I go cheaper and upgrade elsewhere? Either Laban or Lasardi next week to Ryan Couch. That's my bench. So starting team looks solid. Forward pack's good. Halves are good. Backline looks clean. Fayamani as a starter is a bit risky, I think. Steep, Lasardi, Laban, Dewey. Yeah, okay, you've got Lukey, Chester. Okay, so for you, yeah, I think Laban or Lasardi, it's a good shot there. So if you take both those guys and you trade one of them for Ryan Couchman next week, it gives you a bit of flexibility. I think Fayamani might let you down. I've just got this feeling that he might let you down in terms of scoring. So just keep that in mind. I'm trying to think of a good way to get around that. Personally, for my team, I'm running Sell and Cobbo in that spot, so you could potentially have, move off Blake Steep if you wanted to or something like that. But if you like Steep, then keep him. Yeah, it's a tough one. The other option is, you could move off Herbie Farmworth and you can go for, a cheaper option there, like a Ewan Aitken or a Rob Toyer or one of these types of players, and then use that money to upgrade a Fayamani to, a Cobbo, or maybe push towards a Gray or one of these types of guys as well. So you have a few options there. That's what I would look at doing. Personally, I would move. It's a hard one with Herbie because I do think Herbie is going to score really well in round one, but I would personally move off Herbie. I think the price point, 800K, is just too high. But I know you're a big Herbie fan, so for you, I'm going to say keep Herbie. I think you've been keen on Herbie for a while, Phil. So I think you need to keep Herbie. I guess maybe you can trust Fayamani at that wing fullback spot, or you could try to move Steep or one of these types of players instead and try to free up some cash. Or you could move a Gus Crichton on as well and free up some cash that way too. So there's a few different options there for you. Tab shots. Should I see Brayley get someone like Jermaine Hopgood? Should I sell Brayley, get someone like Jermaine Hopgood, and sell Howe for Sanders? Next week, trade Luciano for Lasardi for Ryan Couchman. Expecting 990. Yeah, mate. If you can get 1,000 points in round one, that's absolutely cracker. So I think for you, you've already got Atkinson there. You got a good looking roster here. Pong is there too. Luciano, look, decent score out of Vegas, so not the worst thing in the world. Brayley, Lasardi, you got Leo in that loophole spot. Yeah, and Leo plays first, so you get to make the call on how. I don't mind this. I think that Leo and Fayamani is probably loading up a little too heavy on the poor pedigree scoring outside backs. I'd probably squeeze someone like Cooper Bai into the team. Cooper Bai we talked about, Martin from the Raiders we talked about. One of these guys that we don't know 100% the role, but we know they have fantasy pedigree, right? And just taking a shot at one of those guys. You then have a bit more flexibility in terms of where you move next week, because Luciano might be one that you keep. Jacob Little comes back in next week, so there's a potential that there's less minutes taken off the edge back row spot. A few things could happen there. But yeah, I would give one of these, either Leo or Fayamani, probably Fayamani, the flick for a Cooper Bai or one of these types of players. Other than that, man, is there anything else you were considering here? Yeah, you got the Ryan Couchman play next week, so you got a few options there. But that's what I'd be looking at doing. Other than that, the forward pack looks good, man. So you're in a good position. Then YTB, cheers, bro. Stung by daylight savings. Yes. 6 p.m. Sydney. Sorry, guys. That's a rough one. We'll keep rolling though. We got a bit of time. So tap shots is done. You Crooks have. Okay, let's see. So you can get Lukey and Couchman score. Can change. All right. It could be. Let's have a look at this. So I'm guessing you've got a bit of a loophole play going on here. Yeah, okay. So there we go. Fadia Lofa in the edge back row spot. I don't like the idea of getting a complete dud this week for the loophole. I'm not a fan of that as a play. You can do it. I personally wouldn't. If you were going to do it, I would rather. That's a hard one because you don't have any other edge back rowers really to bring in. I would personally, if I was you, and I wanted to do a loophole like this, I would move Noah Martin, because you got him there, into the starting team. Get Fadi Alofa onto the bench. Move Fadi Alofa into the interchange 3 spot instead. And then swap him out for, someone who could potentially be value in a couple of weeks. So like a Brandon Smith or one of these types of players instead. That's what I'd be doing if you had to loophole. Personally, I don't think it's worth loopholing. I think 60 points is not enough to take a red dot on willingly. So I wouldn't run the loophole. I would swap Fadi Alofa with Martin. I think Martin's going to score close enough to Toby Couchman. And then I'd bring in a guy like Cooper Bai or Fairmani or one of these types of players instead. And I think that leaves you in a good position. So you got Moses Leo starting outright as well. It's a light center pairing, man. It's a very light center pairing. Personally, I'd be thinking about shifting one of Tino, Hopgood, one of those guys on and trying to make a bit of space for some money in your center spot there as well. That's something you could look at. Rob Toya, Aitken, these types of players. There's plenty of options there. So that's what I'm thinking for you. Ali, have another 29K in the bank for Ryan Couchman, but I feel like I have too many Dragons players. Let's have a look at this. Before we do, any questions here? What is the loophole? I think I understand, but not really. I'll quickly hit this one. A couple of other questions there too. But how do you do a loophole? So if you guys are new to loopholing, this is a good little note. There's a pinned video on my Instagram that explains how to loophole. Or if you search on YouTube how to loophole casual athlete, I think my video from last year will pop up too. It's all the same theory. But what I would say for loopholing is basically loopholing allows you to have multiple goes at seeing how someone scores. So Lasardi, for example, we don't know how he's going to score this week. You've got him in emergency 5 spot. As of right now, that spot is a non-scoring position. However, in the interchange 4 spot, a scoring spot, Adam Dewey won't play. He'll get a DMP. That means that when he doesn't play, fantasy looks for an auto emergency. So it looks down your list and it grabs the first eligible player for that position. Now, in this case, it's going to grab Lasardi because he's the first eligible player. Anyone can move into that spot. He's the guy that slides up. His score will count for your team. However, during the weekend, if Lasardi scores poorly on Thursday, you can then move Cooper Bai into that interchange 4 spot and have his score instead of Lasardi's. You have to do it before Cooper Bai plays, but it just means that you get to make that call after seeing Lasardi's score. So that's what a loophole is. For the basic sort of bench side. The positional loophole is a bit more complex. So this coach here has Tom Chester in emergency 7. He is the highest ranked center or wing fullback on the bench. And this coach has Matt Cassini in the starting center spot. So when Matt Cassini doesn't play, fantasy will go to the bench and will look for a center that it can pull in. Hopgood, Atkinson, Fafita, Dewey, Lasardi, and Cooper are all not centers. So it gets down to Tom Chester and it loopholes him in. If Chester scored poorly, this coach could potentially play someone else at center instead. So they need to buy someone, but that's how that works. So that's a bit of a quick explanation of how to loophole. If you're not sure about it, just sort of keep playing around with it. It's really just order of operations, right? So you've got a blank spot in your team, and fantasy is looking to fill your team any way it can. It will try to fill your team if it can, and you just need to manipulate that a little bit. It's a cheeky strategy, but all the best coaches use it. You and Aitken or Toya, they're both fun options. I mean, I think Aitken's got the higher upside in terms of a season average. Like he could potentially push close to 60. Toya's role is a bit more secure. Toya has that injury concern, though. I think it looks like it's going to be pretty okay for Toya. I personally would jump on the Toya Express just because having too many Rabbitohs with that bye soon, especially 2 of them in the back row. The job security for Aitken could be a late swap. I'd go Toya. I think we can find a way to get Aitken later if he starts off well and he gets the 80 minutes in that first game. So I'd rather play for that. The other thing I'm worried about here is Talis Duncan maybe playing a bit of lock for the first couple of weeks for Cam Murray. And then as Cam Murray gets match fit, Talis Duncan moves back into the edge rotation. That scares things too. So there's a few things I'm a bit concerned about there. All right, now we'll keep rolling through these teams. So that was Ali's side. Next up, hey Longy, thoughts on the team in the Hines pod? Also, what time on Thursday do we get your team reveal? So Thursday team reveal, I actually haven't locked it in yet. Probably around midday, I would say. I'll probably record it tomorrow morning is my guess. So yeah, around midday. I'll post the Discord and I'll tag everyone as well. So you'll get it well before games. In terms of the team here, so uncertain about Cobbo, Toya, Hines, Colquhoun, Steep. Considering trading out Hines for Tino, Colquhoun for Sanders. Yeah, okay. And then you want me to talk about Toya, Yo, Hines, Colquhoun, Steep, Angus, Ake, and Toya. Cool. So for your side here, let's see. Because, yeah, the Yo pick, I like the Yo pick for you. Like, you've got a few gambles here, so I think Yo's a nice, solid option for you. It's very safe there. I think the backline is good. The backline has a lot of upside here. Look, the Cobbo play, I do like the Cobbo play. I like the Toya play as well, as you know. In terms of your bench, Nico Hines, I think Nico Hines is a better option than Tino. I think he starts hot, and I think he's going to be a better scorer than Tino. So as long as you don't need that middle forward cover, which I don't think you do, because you got Blake Steep, you got Cooper By there, and you've got Couchman who can ready to go to the edge, Colquhoun as well. I think you're in a good position. I'd go Nico Hines over Tino if I was you. Your loophole here is set up, so you got Ryan Couchman coming to that spot. Then you have Matt Cassini, and you're pulling a wing fullback, which is going to be Setu 2 into the wing fullback spot. So, yeah, that's cruisy. Loopholes are all set up nice. I think you're in a good spot, man. I don't think there's anything glaring that I would change here. What you got to think about next week is, do you want to get Atkinson? The role was fantastic. I think I'm going to get Atkinson. How do you get to Atkinson is the other question. You're probably looking at trading out maybe someone like Colquhoun, maybe one of these types of players, maybe a Blake Steep. Like, you got plenty of options there to get to Atkinson, but you will need a little bit of cash. So just keep that in mind. That's the one thing. Maybe just have a look at your cash flexibility and try to make sure that's nailed down to get Atkinson next week, because I think he's close to a must-have. Rob, hey Longy, here's where I'm at so far. Strategy of having Haas, Cleary, and Herbie as my three guns. Bought Lasardi in with the thought of maybe trading out to Ryan Couchman next week. Job security's not there. Yep. Not set on buy and fair money. Talked out of Brayley and Tokamanu if you think cash could be better spent elsewhere. Very weak in the wing fullback spot if you think that's the problem. Setu 2 score. Okay, so Setu 2 is a fine loophole for the wing fullback spot. So for this week, you're okay. But in general, you do have a pretty fragile wing fullback set there. So keep that in mind. But I think for now, you're okay. The Brayley option, Brayley's one that you're sort of backing on form. It's got a big range of outcomes. So obviously with Jaden Campbell out of the Titans team, I think they are going to struggle this week, and I think the Sharks will really run up a number on them. That could potentially mean less tackling for Brayley. So you need to see some attacking stats from him to boost the score. As we get closer to the season, I get a bit less keen on Brayley. And there's nothing that he's done. There's no news or anything like that. I've just sort of thought about it. And that round one matchup, as it gets more and more into the Sharks' favor, I get a little less keen on Brayley. Like, he almost more wants a competitive game, against a team like the Dragons, right, where there's some attacking opportunities, but they're a good enough team to keep the ball in play, and they play that style that is good for fantasy. Whereas the Titans play a bit more erratic sort of style, and now they've lost their halfback, so it could be messy. So that's one where I think you could free up some cash. You got Lasardi in the starting spot there. You have Lukey to come in, so you're okay in the edge back row spot. But I guess you are a little bit light because Dave Fafita has that bye soon. Lasardi, not great job security. So you probably are a little light in the edge back row spot. Cooper By I like Cooper By. I think he's one that you're going to stick with for a while. Fair money. Lower scorer, but if you think the Titans attack is going to be decent this year, which I don't really see it being as good as last year, I think they might downgrade this year in attack. I think last year they finished the year with a very strong attack, and it's probably a bit underrated actually from what they did last year. So I'm not as keen on a fair money myself, but you've already got the gamble there in Lasardi, so you probably don't need another sort of speculator. So I guess fair money does have decent job security. You're going to need to get Ryan Couchman and Atkinson next week, so just keep that in mind. You might need to upgrade your wing fullback spot as well. If I was you, I would consider possibly, it's up to you if you want to do this, but I would consider going Brayley to Reece Walsh. More for the squad configuration and balance there, just because your wing fullback spot, Matt Cassini, not really he looked good in the preseason. He's obviously not completely guaranteed to have that spot long term. He's not a pedigree scorer either. He's probably more of a 30s sort of guy in general. Chester, not great job security. They got beaten by the Knights. Fair Longo's a little dicey as well. And you've got Setu 2 and fair money. So I guess you have a lot of wing fullbacks, but I would consider that move. That Brayley to Walsh, or you could potentially take a shot at, if you like the Sharks connection, Brayley to Nico Hines, or you could go to Grant, save a bit of money as well. I think the fact that the Storm have lost so many weapons on the edges, it has to be Harry Grant that sort of leads things through that middle third. So I'm actually sort of warming on him too. So there's a few options for you. Hopefully it helps more than adds confusion. Only Ducky. Let's see how many teams we have at 6 p.m. So that's about 5, 6. Okay, so we got about 8 more to go through, and then I'll do a few questions as well. So only Ducky, hey long, you've been quite busy, so I haven't really been able to see much of the content and who to get. So this is it as of now, mainly considering who to get, a Leo, Fairmoney, or someone else. That's cool, man. You've been busy. I'll hit you up here. So starting team looks good. Backline looks all clear. Very well balanced side. Bench looks good. Yeah, you would have loved that Hayward golden point. Sanders, Lukey loops in. You've got Colhoun. Okay. I'm leaning towards, you got Setu there. You have Karazu as the bye coming up soon. So Kraz is the bye next week, which means that your starting centers for next week are going to be 2 of Macassini, Chester, and Moses Leo. I guess you got 3 of them, so that's not too. It's not dire, but it's going to be a weak spot for you next week. Setu 2 is going to come in most likely and play in the wing fullback spot for you next week too. So I think you're in a decent position with this side. If I was going to make a change, I'm not keen on Leo, but you kind of need Leo with the Karaz pick. Like you kind of need that center cover. So I don't mind you sticking with that one. I'd probably leave it as is. Maybe one thing you can consider doing, Jesse Colhoun, if he's not in your starting 17, it's probably not worth spending 350K. So I'd consider flicking Colhoun for someone cheaper. One of the guys we've talked about, maybe going down to, I guess, like Lasardi's not that much cheaper, but Cooper Bai, Martin, Aramu Howe, like these types of players, they're not as solid, but you're going to need to make a move to Ryan Couchman next week anyway. So you might as well just, get a dice roll on one of these guys and hope that they ball out. Because like with a Cooper Bai, with Colhoun, right? With Colhoun, there's not really much of a dice roll there. They've got a 4-forward bench. We know what Colhoun is. He's going to be sort of that 30 to 45 scorer. He's going to be fine. Whereas with the Cooper Bai, he could be a 20-minute player and be a total dud for fantasy. Or he could come out and do a Ryan Couchman and be a total juggernaut. You don't know what's going to happen there. So if you get Cooper Bai this week, you get to see how that goes. And then you can trade Cooper Bai next week anyway for Ryan Couchman. Or if he's good, you can trade someone else instead. So I would rather a lottery ticket because you're going to be targeting Ryan Couchman next week. The other thing you need to think about is Atkinson. So there's a few options you can use to buy Atkinson as well. So that's where I'm at for you. Before I go to hurrying, I'll hit a few questions. What do we got? Bellamy talking up Cooper Clark. Cooper Clark is a very interesting pod cheapie. He is a guy who's very young, has basically no reserve grade stats. He sort of skipped from the youth grades into first grade this week. They've got Trent Loiero coming back very soon, Sean Bloor back very soon, a lot of competition for spots, but his numbers in the trial games were fantastic. So Cooper Clark is one I'm watching really closely. He's one that I haven't bought for my team, but I'll be watching. And if he does come out and pop off in round 1, he's one that I'll move pretty quickly and try to get into my team. An eye on that one. We'll keep an eye on that as we go through the preseason. Ewan Aitken or Stefano. I think Stefano is the safer option, but Ewan Aitken has the positional advantage. I'd say Stefano, though, because he can't talk up. Yeah, Cooper Bai's not going to the Storm. He's sticking with the Titans. I had Isaiah Publi and Talis Duncan on my bench. Now I'm in shambles. Luckily, you have unlimited trades, so you can sell both. Hey, Longy, if you have enough time to go through my team, sent through the wrong photos. Oh, okay, just edit the message you sent sent the wrong photos, sent the new one and say the time that you sent it through, and I'll jump down. Yo and Steep or Angus Crichton and Hopgood. Oh, I'm probably leaning towards Yo and Steep. We know who Yo is. It's a safe option there, and then you go Steep for the upside. Is Horsburgh the forgotten player this year? I've been asked about Horsburgh a lot recently for a guy who's 0.3% owned. Personally, I don't see the upside. Hosking is committed to the middle forward rotation, even with Manny Nicholson out. So I think the minutes for Horsburgh will be fine. I just don't see the value in the upside there. Thoughts on Tamale? Fun pod if you want to back him for that second-year leap. He's very similar to Toya, right? He's that kind of player where you're going, all right, didn't score a lot of tries last year. I think the attack improves. Difference is I think Toya's had a big upgrade in playmaking, whereas Tamale, I don't see that as much. Brelly to Grant, Egan, or Dono. I already have Reed on my bench. So you would, and you could stick with Braley. I wouldn't go Egan or Donahue. So really it's just Grant out of those three. I think you don't want to go and mess around with those mid-ranger hookers. Which two should I start on my bench? Sanders, Colhoun, Lasardi. I would go Sanders and something in me is saying Lasardi. So I'm going to go Sanders and Lasardi. But Colhoun is the safer option than Lasardi. I just think Lasardi's going to have a few plays in him. Right now I have Sewer and the Mole, but I could make the trade to Reese and Steep. Okay, yeah, I would go Reese and Steep personally. I think Reese Walsh is a really good option to target this year. Rate my team or get 10 years bad luck. I will rate your team tonight. So I've avoided the bad luck. There you go, loophole. Hey, Longy, I got Hayward by mistake and have 300k in my bank at the moment with my current team. Would him to Atkinson be the play and then upgrade Lasardi to a Couchman? You could trade him next week. Yeah, Hayward is value. He's making a bit of cash for you. So he's one you could sell. There are other guys you could sell next week too, but you can't sell Hayward yet, of course. Atkinson or Hines, just a bench spot if you got the cash. Or Hines is the better option, but not by heaps. Atkinson's the better value. So I think Atco is going to be a borderline must-have. Jai asked the question, how do you join the Discord? If I do, can you rate my team today? Yeah. So what happens in Discord, guys, I'll pop the link in the chat, is if you're one of the supporting members, basically, casual crew, you get a team review. If you send it right on 6 p.m., you get one live in this video. If you send it any other time, what happens is I just do written reviews and I tag everyone later and just say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about your team, blah, 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 blah. And it's super chill. So I'll leave that up there. That's the link. If you guys do want to join, get your team rated, that's how you get in. Now let's go to Hurring's team. So, hey, mate, hope all is well. Plans to pick up Ryan Couchman next week. I've got two options to pick from. One, Grant and Lasardi and Martin, with Cheapy being traded for Couch next week. Or two, Iolu and anyone 6 or 7K or cheaper. Iolu, I've got to work on this pronunciation too, so apologies for that, to Couch next week. Made the error of leaving Marnie to my bench. Happy to run one hook. Yeah, okay. Let's have a look at these teams. So you got the Harry Grant team versus going a bit cheaper at hooker. You got Reed Marnie on your bench. Okay, yeah, so you're forced to buy a hooker. I'm going to say the Harry Grant option. Just having a look at these briefly. I think Grant's value. Grant's definitely value. He's a guy who's going to make a bit of cash. I think him and Brayley are both potential value. Brayley, I think, has this interesting upside, but Grant's probably the safer play. He scores in more of a variety of ways, is the thing with Harry Grant. So, and them losing all these weapons on the edges, it really is looking dire on their edges now. So I think Harry Grant could be the play. So if I was you, I'd go the Grant option there. Martin's a fun one you can plug into your team. He's one you can also sell for Ryan Couchman next week too. Gentle Giant PK. Hey, Longy, I've got a couple of different options for my bench this week. Would love your opinion. I've done Papali'i to Steep. Players I'm considering. Teddy Atkinson. Yeah, cool. Big fan of Hopgood. Like your opinion on which player suits my team. Anti-Cleary all the way. The options with Lasardi in will be used to get Ryan Couchman. Cool. So, starting team looks solid. Yep. Bit of upside here, some fun picks. Carraz, Cobbo, Hines, Steep. Got a few different players there. Bench looks good too. You got Lukey in the loophole. Setu is not looping. You got Chester in the loop spot. Lasardi is on that extended bench. Yeah, he's a dice roll, right? He's one of many guys that I've talked about as those potential dice rolls. So yeah, I like Lasardi there as one that you can potentially sell for Ryan Couchman next week. The other options you got Fayamani or are you going Brayley instead of Tino? I'm probably going to say Tino over Brayley. Just saves you a bit of cash, keeps you a bit more flexible. So I would go say Tino and Lasardi. That's probably the two that I'm recommending for you there. Then Rabadowski. Hey, Longy, hope you're doing well. Ready for round 1B. 71K in the bank. So uncertain about Steep. Yep, interesting. Aitken is very risky, and Buy being a slow burner. Fair call. Players, I think with Cooper Buy, though, you look at the bench there, and it's all guys who aren't going to demand big minutes, except for maybe Cleese Haas. So I think Cooper Buy is a pretty good option for this week. Players, trades I'm considering. Lasardi to Ryan Couchman for next week, 100%. I like that. Should I keep one trade or being this early? So you can make these calls next week, right? Because you still have time. You're going to see a lot of games. Like we're going to see two of the 8 games this week. So I think these trades look fine for now, but we can sort of make that call next week and lock it in. Tossing up between Toya and Aitken. I'm leaning Toya. I think Aitken's risky. We can get on Aitken later. I personally reckon the risk there of him just totally screwing over in the last game of the round. We've seen a few late swaps already. It could be dangerous for Aitken. I know it's not next round, but a little bit of planning can't hurt. Round 3, trading Galvin. Yeah, Galvin looks good. Galvin's one we talked about as value for sure. If Dylan Brown has a really bad role again, I might consider something like that. Maybe Steep, Colhoun, Brown to Galvin, Atco. Yeah, if things don't go right. So all those questions you sort of asked there really depend on the performances, because if those guys that you also thank you. Eolu. Gotcha. All right, cool. Let's keep rolling. We only got a few more to hit up here. So Crossy, telling any advice? So uncertain about Lasardi, Hopgood, Sanders, Leo, Cobo, players, trades you're considering. Takamanu for Hopgood, cool. Yeah, interesting shout here too. Don't see any Cleary captainers. Yeah, he's a big pod if you've captain Cleary. It's very unpopular right now. In fact, I might even be able to get the numbers up in a sec. I'll check that after. So players you're considering: Takamanu, Hopgood, Steve. Okay, Simpkin, Ramian. Yeah, okay. Isaiah Yo. I'll have a look at Yo on your team. Jermaine Hopgood. All right, so your team is wrong. Reed Marnie, Mooney, Haas, Yo, Fafita Lasardi. Yeah, this looks pretty good. I mean, it's very similar to my team, this roster. You got the Yo play instead, though, a little bit different. Hopgood. I'm not super keen on Leo, personally. I especially wouldn't run Leo as a scorer. He's got a lot of potential to go under 20 points if the game goes wrong. I'd much rather ditch Leo and get, Cooper Bye or Noah Martin or one of these types of players instead and run one of them. That's what I'm recommending for you. So yeah, that's a change I would make. But otherwise, the roster looks pretty clean. It's in a good spot. I think Yo's a good fit for your team, so I think keep Yo. I can't see any glaring holes where you would need to address. Your wing fullbacks are strong. Center, you got nice loopholes there. So I think you're in a good position, man. And Mahi, our news source, the Daily Telegraph of the Discord, except he's accurate. Hey, Longy, yep, we're in that time of year again. Unsure on Nikora. Could go Nat Butcher, Nikora, Laban, or Steep. Lasadi, Ryan Couch for next week. Okay, yeah. So, all those options you've mentioned are pretty good. Nikora is about 8 points of value if you look at history. So, if you want to take a shot on that pod, it could be a fun one. It could go very well against Titans round one. In terms of the roster in general, it's a good-looking team, man. It's a good-looking team. It's balanced. Lasadi's there. Fayamani, so you've got Setutu as a starter. So, yeah, the depth at wing fullback is worth it for you. Tommy Chester, Makasini, yeah. I think this is a good team. So, Fayamani makes sense for some teams. I don't think he should be in every team. But if you're running Setutu as a starting wing fullback, you generally want a bit more depth there because, you got a couple of rookies there. So, that makes sense. I think for your side, the toss-up you had there was Nat Butcher, Nikora, Laban, or Steep. I'm going with Steep, personally. I can totally see the appeal of guys like Nat Butcher and Nikora. They have this upside level that... guys like Laban and Steep probably don't have as much. You could take a shot on Laban as well if you wanted to. Or Steep, really, for that matter. And if they suck, you can move them to Ryan Couchman next week. So, or Dan Atkinson or one of these guys. So you got plenty of options here, man. And then Tiller, 81. We'll hit that, and then I'll hit some questions. I'll go Tiller, Simpster, and then I'll go some questions. And Isora, I'll see you later in level 3. So I'll get to your team later on. So Tiller... Let's see this team. Harry Grant at hooker, good-looking forward pack. Outside backs are nice. Jai Gray is one that everyone's faded on, but I can see the appeal. Fafita, Hopgood, clear. Yeah, that bench is clean. Ryan Couchman, Cooper by Leo Fayamani. Yeah, okay, so you got Setutu in the starting spot there. Chester as well. No Makasini is interesting. Oh, you got Makasini there. No Adam Dewey is what I mean to say. So, personally... If I was you, I would give Hopgood the flick for Adam Dewey. I just reckon Dewey's going to be that 60 average pretty comfortably. I think he has big upside, and you can run him as a bit of a loophole kind of guy as well this week. And then you can run a second loophole using potentially Fayamani and Makasini for wing fullback. And if Fayamani goes well, or you can do it with Leo instead, use Moses Leo for wing fullback. If Moses Leo goes well, then you just don't buy Jai Gray, right? But if Moses Leo goes poorly, which you probably will, then you stick with Jai Gray. So there's a few different options there you have for loopholes. If you were going to run that loophole, what you would do is you'd buy Adam Dewey for Jermaine Hopgood. You'd move Dewey into where Makasini is. You'd move Makasini into the starting wing fullback spot where Gray is. and then you'd have Cooper Bye at the bottom of your bench instead. So that's how you'd set up that loophole. Feel free to shoot me a message in level 1. Just shoot me a tag if you want a bit more help with that loophole, by the way. Simstar, hey Longy. I've traded out IPAP and bought in Laban. Traded out my original pod, Sam Walker, gave me 1.1 million cash. Jumped on Hopgood and Cobbo. Love to hear some other opinion. I mean, look, Sam Walker is a good pod. Like, I'm not against the Sam Walker pick at all. Steep and Hopgood. Yeah, I don't know why you've jumped off Sam Walker. Like, I don't have Walker on my side, but I see people potting up with him, and I think he's a fun one. So I think you could consider jumping back to jumping back to Sam Walker. That could be an option you look at there. But outside of that, I mean, Cobbo, yeah, you got him. It's a bit of an awkward one because you kind of have him in a loophole for wing fullback, but not really. I guess with the configuration you have, you get Ryan Couchman's score. So that's the appeal there. Yeah, okay. In terms of the starting side, Laban, bit of a risk there, but you've got Ryan Couchman already. So yeah, I guess Laban could have a role. It's tough with this Warriors pack, seeing Harsima on the bench. I think this side, what are we lacking? What are we missing here? I feel like something is a bit off with this team. So Laban's starting. You got Halem Lukey on the bench there. So you got a bit of cover at the edge back row spot. You got Ryan Couchman as well. So you got a good depth there. In the back line, you have some, gem pieces. Herbie Farnworth, Walsh, you got mid-range, Suafe-Longo, Chester Macassini. Then you've got Setutu and someone Cobbo who can come in. Yeah, it's probably just the placement of Cobbo on the bench that's throwing me off. It's a good-looking team, man. I would consider going Hopgood back to Sam Walker. I like Hopgood, but if you really like Sam Walker, you're going to be kicking yourself if he kills it. That's just one thing. I'm just going to float that out there. I think they're both relatively equivalent in terms of options, but he was your pod, like you said. And you call him that. My original pod, Sam Walker. You're going to be fuming if Sam Walker pops off. That's probably more of a personal advice thing than a actual fantasy analysis. Now, I hit a couple of questions before we finish up here. Sam Walker or Hines? Walker is probably better value, but I like Hines personally. I think he's got that massive upside. Moses Leo or Cooper Bye? I'm going Cooper Bye over Moses Leo. I think he has bigger upside. If it goes wrong, we have trades. We can make moves. We only have 21-man squads anyway, so we can be flexible. But I think Cooper Bye has risky one, but an option you could definitely look at. Sorry, before I meant to spell Ewan Aitken or Hines. Aitken or Hines? I'd go Hines over Aitken for me. Itoka Manu and Ola Kawatu or Yo and Steep? I would go Yo and Steep. Ola Kawatu, that injury just worries me a little bit here. Do you think Itoka Manu will lose minutes or be less reliant on Malera and Blore are back? I do believe that would be the case, yeah. But he doesn't normally flex up minutes too much. So I think he's a pretty safe 50 to 60 minutes. Probably going to average in the low 50s. That would be the projection I would have for Stefano Itoka-Manu. Could potentially go bigger if he has a run of form, though. He's got plenty of attack in his game. I've got Jai Gray and Cancel and put in Maka to get Setutu's score. Don't know what to do. Yeah, okay, with the cash. I would make that move. Yeah, you can save a bit of cash there. Have a look at your team. Try and figure something out, but you should be okay. Lazzy Snipes, Longy, my bald eagle. I wish I had the eagle backdrop for that. Longy, is Dylan Brown worth cashing out? We can make that call next week, but I'm going to say no right now. I think you want to keep Dylan Brown for now, but Turtles is considering selling him. Gun below 750K, Walsh, Hines, Aitken. I think Hines is the best one. Walsh at wing fullback I like. Aitken is a goer. Great value if he gets the 80 minutes. It's a big if. It's one that I'm going to wait on personally. Sewer Antipod, I can see the appeal. The injury risk is definitely there with Sewer. I potted up with Walker a few years ago, and it was rough. He was playing great, just not converting fantasy-wise. That's a tough thing because he's partnered by Trey Evans as well, so it can be a little bit tricky. Thoughts on Chan? Really average fantasy score, so not for me. Laban or Colhoun? Colhoun's safer. Laban has bigger upside. Sewer, biggest trap ever, 40% on his criminal. Fair shout. To'o back this year or sell. I think To'o is value. I don't think it's enough value for me to start with him, but I can see the appeal. Hey, Longy, an interesting one that I've been looking at is Carrigan. Don't know if I'm wrong, but I feel that 80 minutes is there for the taking. I personally don't see him getting the big 80 minutes, but yeah, it's a pod, man. It's a pod. And if he gets 80 minutes, he's a machine. I personally don't see it, though. Martin Olasadi, I am leaning. I'm flicking back and forth on these two. I'm I'm kind of leaning towards Martin just because I need to get Couchman next week anyway. So if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But I think Martin's going to score well this week. And Hopgood on Nakora, I would go Hopgood over Nakora. Is Laban a buy? Risky, but he is a good option. What's your team looking like? I'll do the reveal tomorrow. Hey, Longy, what do we think? Dewey plus Herbie plus Colquhoun or Tino, Herbie, and Sanders? The Dewey option. I think Dewey is... I'd probably consider going Dewey, Herbie, and Sanders, though. Because I think Sanders is a really good option, too. Yo, well, Hopgood. If you can use the money well, Hopgood's not a bad shout, but Yo's obviously the better player. Would you sell Stefano to get Steep and Colquhoun? Only if you need the score on your bench, but probably not, man. Probably not. I would probably keep Stefano if you got in there. Who'd you captain? Payne Haas. Captain the Haasnator. And thanks. Appreciate the wisdom. No worries, man. Sorry, there's a lot of questions coming through, Xavier. So yeah, that's me done and dusted, guys, for today. I'll have a bunch of these reviews coming through. So guys, if you didn't get reviewed today, you'll get a tag later tonight in Discord. So jump in there. For this year, we are starting the season now, so I can give you a bit of a schedule, sort of when we actually are posting. So Sunday night is the recap video, usually about 2 hours after the games are done. So I'll post a recap, give you all my analysis of what happened over the weekend. Monday, we're considering a new show, which I'm going to keep close to my chest. Tuesday at 4 p.m. is Teamless Tuesday Live. It was a monster yesterday, absolutely massive. Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. That's Buy, Hold, Sell. That's a video with Biz and I. That's the one where we go really deep on the options for this week. And then in the Wednesday 6 p.m. slot here, we do team advice. If you are a member of Mid-Ranger and Gun Society, there's a chat later. So we do a call at 8 p.m. as well. So if you do want to get into that, just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I can give you some instructions, let you know how to get into that too. If you're a member of Level 1, you still get all of this stuff as well in the private group. So it's pretty sweet. And then Thursday with, team reveal. That's the other thing we've got to talk about there too. So I'll be doing a team reveal tomorrow. And every week I'll be doing a team reveal and sharing my trades and analyzing my trades and letting you know where I got it right, where I got it wrong, and how many points or dollars I succeeded in getting or failed in getting. So that's where I'm sitting right now. See you guys. Cheers. Have a good one. I'll catch you later.